We live.
What is up, Caffeinds, friends? My name is Perk. This is the Caffeinds cast. This is our host, WillProduces. My hands are on the wrong side. He's over there. He's over on that side. It's always a guess. This is our weekly podcast. For those of you who don't know and you found your way onto this video or live stream, we are a Destiny clan. We've been playing together since the game's alpha. And we've been friends and clanmates ever since. On the podcast, we talk mostly about Destiny, as well as some other gaming related stuff, some kind of other gaming culture related shenanigans and different things like that. So, Will, you are the host for us tonight. We got some coffee. We're doing things. Why don't you,
Clink.
lead us into it? Let's get into it.
Absolutely. This week on the docket, a little light on the Destiny front. I think I wanted to just shout out the cold brew that I've been brewing myself this last week. Thank you for the compliment. Very free spot as well in the apartment. The move is finally coming to a close. We still got some stuff to do here, but it's been great. I promised Perk I'd show him the Takea infuser from a little 3/4. But that's sort of the mantra of being a caffeine. Drinking coffee at 7 p.m. every Thursday night, right here at twitch.tv/caffeines.
It is.
So this week, Sony and Microsoft had some huge announcements, big things.
They did.
So
they did some stuff.
I just kind of want to jump right into that because like we have the TWAB. We can talk about that later or now. But to be honest, let's just give the people what they want. We're just talking about PlayStation 5 and the Xbox One Series X and the Xbox One Series S.
Yeah.
Perk, where do you want to start with this one?
So I want to start. Let's long story short, let's start in 2017. When I first predicted that Microsoft was not gonna wow anybody, and they're not gonna take over a fan base. At that point, I'm like, this company is not interested anymore in going after exclusives or different things like that. That kind of made up most of what the prior, console wars had been about. And I started seeing where they were going to go, and I'm like, I think I see this. I think I see this when Game Pass came up and different things like that. It's been awesome. For those of you who haven't, Game Pass is a service that Microsoft sells. It is a couple of different varieties in packaging. I think right now for the PC version, it's $5 a month. I think it's going to go up to 10. And then there's like a $10 and like a $15 a month deal, essentially. Think of it as Netflix for gaming. And when I was last console generation, we're pretty much all Sony based, just because I play a lot of fighting games and we play Destiny. It's like for me, that's my main thing, playing with everybody. So seeing Xbox kind of be the dark horse in this whole thing. There you go. Will's got that graphic up. I saw that as the thing they offered you, for $1, come try this out. And that's kind of when it began. And by begin, I mean Microsoft realizing that they don't exactly have that the territory for a console war doesn't have to just be in one lane like it had been, with who has the better exclusives and stuff like that. It can be fought on multiple fronts, and I think that's why we're seeing a lot of articles from news outlets literally saying the console wars are kind of over, because this is breaking into some new territory. So from 2017, I believe, is when Game Pass started, and it's been building steam. It's been getting better and better and better over the past couple of years. And I mean, I've personally kind of moved away from console gaming, and I mostly do everything on PCs. I'm sure a lot of you guys know from seeing our streams and stuff. But the thing is that despite really not playing the Xbox so much, there is a lot of crossover now that Game Pass is available on PC. And to go back to the statement that I was making about being the Netflix of games, what it means and what the service actually is for that monthly fee, you just download the games that are available. And much like Netflix, things rotate out after a couple of months or year, like whatever it is. I've seen a few games that have been on there for quite a while. But essentially, for as long as those games are available on Game Pass, and they tell you long before things cycle out, so you have a chance to play through. you get to download them onto your Xbox or your computer, and you just get to play those games as if there's a disc in your disk drive, or if you purchase them um, from the store. And that is honestly insane. So, bringing that long story back around, I think Microsoft now has a bundle where you can literally pay $35 a month and get the entire version of Game Pass all together, and you're paying for a console. You're paying for the new Xbox. I think it's 25 for the slim Xbox, and I think it's 50, yeah, 25 for the slim Xbox, 35 for the Series X, the big one. So now they're bundling all these services together. They've got EA Game Pass, or EA Pass or Access, sorry, as part of Game Pass, and you've got this whole new image of what a console war can kind of be, and that's Xbox, right?
I
We
think
have them over there.
we should talk about one more feature that we've forgotten about here.
Sure, sure.
I'm going to bring up this graphic just once again. So right now you can get Xbox Game Pass for $10 a month, and it's sort of like PC or console, or you get
Yeah,
Ultimate for 15. But one important feature is that Microsoft has adopted this sort of play anywhere mentality on pretty much all of its games. They have like smart delivery, I think it's called, where you buy
it
a game
is.
on PC, you get an Xbox, vice versa. But they're also doing Project xCloud, which is on Android
Yeah.
phones only right now. You can just play a game that you own, or through Game Pass, play games through Game Pass on an Android
Yeah.
phone, or I'm pretty sure it's from a browser as well. So it's like it's doing what Stadia wanted to do,
Yeah,
in
actually. Yeah.
a much better package, because also bundled in this you get Xbox Live,
Yep.
um, which is just like Xbox Live really to me is like the number one like gaming subscription to play online. Compared to PSN, you do get more. Like, I'm not sure who gives more, to be honest, but I know that
Xbox
just
does by a mile.
like I know
For
for a
sure.
fact that like just name recognition, Xbox Live is the thing, right? Um,
Yep.
so we have Ninetail Fox. What's up, Ninetail? In chat asking what happens if you keep it if you want to keep it after you leave Game Pass. I'm
You
not sure
own
if
it.
he's talking about a game or
The
the
console itself.
Xbox.
The console itself, you own it. Or you pay it off over the course of 2 years. So I think you have
Mhm.
an option to buy out if you want to leave Game Pass. But if not, after the end of 2 years, you basically own the console, and you can just continue paying for Game Pass at the $10 or $15 mark, whichever one you just decide to keep.
And
So,
yeah,
but
this
yeah,
is
that's what I was saying.
huge.
Yeah, like Xbox definitely gives you more, and this is from somebody who paid for PlayStation Plus forever, since we were playing Destiny on it for, what was it, like 3 years, 4 years, essentially. Um, so yeah, like in looking back on it, I'm like, okay, Xbox does kind of give you a lot, and I think part of that is because they are the underdog in the situation, right? Like
Right.
whenever you see one of these big companies kind of being the behind guy, they have an opportunity to go, hey, we're gonna burn some money here, and we're gonna kind of make these deals seem insane. And I think one of the more interesting things about it is that Microsoft has the capital, and I love seeing whenever developers talk to content creators, or journalists or whatever. And Phil Spencer from Xbox, shout out to him. Dude is just like shows up and was like, "Hey, this is what we got. This is what we're doing." And he's even said, he's like, Microsoft basically uncapped us. Like they uncapped our frame rate, so to speak, and they were just like, "You could do whatever you want at Xbox. Go out there and try to make some money and win some people back." So it's been interesting. But anyway, um, the Xbox is a great service. So, and I honestly can't talk enough about it. Especially even just from somebody that like just plays on a PC. Like there's been so many games where I'm like, I get to play this in 144 hertz or uncapped frame rate and just enjoy this. And like, whereas if I played it on an Xbox on a TV, you get a lessened experience because I have like the Xbox S or whatever. But you still get the cross save and everything like that. Like I can start a game over here, take it over to the couch and keep playing and stuff like that. So there's a lot of versatility. So you got that as one side of this console war. On the other side, you have PlayStation, who just was hidden and elusive all summer and spring and summer long with their pricing and what the console was going to be, how it was going to work. Is it backwards compatible? Is it forwards compatible? Accessories and the whole nine, which I definitely want to talk about the accessories and how each of them breaks down. But the other kind of big talking point on this topic is they just announced $400 discless, digital only, $500 for the disc version. So that brings the question to you, Will. I want to hear what you think about this.
Mhm.
For Microsoft, their cheap versions, $300 and $500. The $300 version does play games at a little bit of a lower power, right? And that console is small. Like, I don't know
Right.
if you have that queued up. That thing is tiny. They had it next to like a controller as I just slam it.
Nice.
Controller, like the whole thing was not even much like bigger than this. And like, this is a decent, size controller. Look at that thing. It's basically like two stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
The
I
thing is
also
little.
I like that sort of. So Xbox seems to retain the same controller. I'm
They
not
do,
sure
which
if
I
they
love.
like. Great. This is kind of perfection here, in my opinion.
I
Xbox
think
controller seems
so.
to be, to me, perfect. Sony, I think, is still iterating, and you don't need to. You really don't. I think the
They
most.
got a cool thing with that haptic triggered system, but that's
Yeah.
one thing.
And then
as far as
over
I'm
here
concerned.
is the fridge, the $499 one. I think if you look at the specs, you're still like, sure, you're not getting like 4K at 60 frames per second on a Series S, but you're getting 2K.
On an S, no, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly, like you're saying. For the X, you are getting 4K
Right.
at whatever frame rate the games are able to run on.
But you're still getting 2K though, and you're still getting
Yes.
60.
Yes, and so for $200 less on the
Right.
Slim, you're
And
getting a tiny console.
and you can break that out in a payment plan that is a
Yes.
subscription service.
Yes, you can.
So
yeah. Go ahead.
So I look at like, I am pretty wary of digital only media. I think it's a little iffy to me. The best ways to sort of protest the weird gaming companies that you don't like whether if they have business practices that you don't like, for example, or if they support a cause that you're against. The best way to play the game you want to play and not support that company is to buy the game used. And it's this weird 2020 irony that we're like, oh wait, no, we have to hold on to our GameStops. We have to hold on to our shops that enable us to buy used games to like make ethical games purchases. But that's where we are. And to me, buying either system without a disk drive is really not what I want to do, because I don't want to put any of like my like means behind moving the industry in a way where I don't actually own the things that I buy. Right.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
That said, I think that like we see the comparisons between the Sony lineup and the Xbox lineup all the time. Xbox is notoriously like, it has tried to catch up to Sony in its exclusives in the Xbox One generation. Didn't really do that. And I think it's going like with this more quantity and accessibility approach that will actually pay off. Because it's not just for like, it's allowing an ecosystem to exist alongside the Xbox and integrating the Xbox into like a PC gaming ecosystem, whereas Sony is not doing that with its ecosystem. And it's sad because I really want to play the next God of War and I really want to play the next Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a while before I'm going to be able to do that.
For sure. And Dark Souls for me, for those of you who don't know, the FGC in my name stands for Fighting Game Community. Long before the coronavirus, I was going to events every couple months.
In the before times.
In the before times, before the dark times, before the Empire. Playing, in IRL with people. I would throw my arcade stick in a bag and, kind of take a little road trip with some buddies just for, a day or for the weekend or something like that. or even weekly. I had a nice local that I would visit, and that's something that sort of evaporated pretty quickly, or at least is on ice. But long way of saying that that's where PlayStation is for me, fighting games, and it was the origin of where we started playing Destiny because it was only available on the consoles when the game first came out. So for me, PlayStation is hard coded into me where I'm like, I always need to have one. Despite my PC and maybe my Switch for a little bit being the places that I play games on most likely, the PlayStation is still I've still got to have an arcade stick for this thing. This is still the tournament version for fighting games, and there's always tiny little bits of differences. And if you're competing, you're paying to go play, whether it be a local or whatever. You want to do your best. You want to play on the tournament version, because with games you can always there's always room for a little bit of difference. But anyway, I agree with you completely. It's kind of like Sony is very much in this weird place of, hey, it's still 2010 to us, and you need to buy our box to play all of our games. Which, honestly, is you
That's
think about it back then, you're like, of course, but you think about it now, and you're like,
that's a mindset that's been in the gaming, like the console game manufacturers, like the platforms from the rip, right? Like
yeah,
from Nintendo Entertainment System versus Sega versus Atari, there have always been
yep,
console exclusives, and there have always been comparisons of versions of games between the consoles.
yes,
And
100%.
like, to be honest, Microsoft leaving that is sort of this weird like Buddhist enlightenment, like Siddhartha leaving, like finding the river and sitting
Yeah,
down by it, and it's just like, you know what, I'm happy here, like because
it's great.
like
That's why.
they're ingratiating themselves with their actual user base, whereas
Yeah,
like we look back at the past few years of like, why don't we have cross play across consoles? Well, Sony
yeah.
has been the one that's been
Sony's doing stuff
like
about it.
has been stopping that. Like we just got cross save on Destiny when you think about it.
Dude, the
Like
fact that this is my arcade stick. The fact that I can take this is for the Xbox One, and I have a universal one that works on like PlayStation as well. The fact that I can take this and not need to buy anything else, and I can go and plug that into the new Xbox that's coming out, and presumably, I mean, like, who knows how many other Xboxes in the future will be compatible with that. I love that for people that have controllers, sound docks. You can take your regular controllers. You don't have to buy all new shit, accessory wise, to go into the console. They're starting to think more like in tune with how the PC gamers think about stuff.
mhm.
Because we've got stuff, you could use anything on a PC. Like it doesn't even matter. Even for stuff that's the PS/2 ports, you could still plug that in. A lot of motherboards have those. Like if you have those old like IBM keyboards and stuff, like there's a big market for stuff like that, or like flight sticks and things. I know people love that retro stuff. Nothing goes you know, out of what's the word for it? Non-backwards compatible, I guess, on PC. You've got everything. I have DOS versions of games that they're rewrapped through good old games that they put out on
And
the
I
marketplace
wish
that you can play. Dude, it's like, and so for me, after loving console games forever and that being kind of the place to play, for certain stuff, and then PC games were always like RTS, playing Age of Empires and, Doom and stuff like that in the 90s.
StarCraft, Brood War.
StarCraft, yeah, I know. There's a lot of that, but that's what I'm saying. Like, there's it had its own niche and stuff like that,
Right.
right? So when you think about it now, and you're like, all right, console gaming is starting to kind of catch up and think with the way that like a PC gamer would think, because they're going, hey, I don't really see a reason. There's no the port's not changing, for this. Like, it's just an input device.
It
You
is.
know,
It's the
why
Borg
not let me use it?
assimilation of Xbox into PC gaming, basically. Like
Yeah,
like
and I've
for
been
all the
calling for
shit,
it forever.
yeah, for all the shit that the Series X gets for being kind of big, that's still smaller than a PC and can put out 4K.
Same.
Like,
Yeah.
and for
Dude,
like,
that thing is tiny. I love when and that's another big thing too. I'm sorry to cut you off, but it got me so excited when I watched. There was a video that Microsoft put out with a content creator. They basically had their whole cooling system dismantled, and they're like, "Hey, here's how it cools itself. Like, it like pulls air in, like pulls it out of the top and shit like that." Like, they were like, "We did this. We kind of engineered this thing. We wanted it to be small. We didn't want it to just be
Do you
VCR looking thing that hangs.
do you remember the loading screen for the original Xbox with the green goo?
Do I know it? I bought a remaster of the Duke controller, the big fat mumbo jumbo controller. I literally bought it because I it was like for
Banana hands.
but I was like, I love that controller. And in the jewel that's in the middle, that little X that they had, dude, this is dead ass. That jewel is a screen on the new Duke. And every time you press it, it works as the guide button. It plays the little GIF loop of that loading screen.
Okay.
It was tight.
All I want in my life is for the exhaust to come out of the Xbox Series X as green floaty goo.
God.
like
They would need some sort of like liquid in there that like,
or
vents
just
out,
like
you'd have
put
to,
a
like,
lava lamp
refill.
attachment on top and like let me fake it.
That'd be cool.
There is something else that I do want to talk about along these lines. So
Yeah.
Microsoft went first, had their huge conference, announced that like crazy change in pricing model. Sony goes next, and they have to respond. Like everyone like wanted to know what the price of the PlayStation was, so we knew we were gonna get that. Got some crazy announcements like Final Fantasy 16, which we're gonna talk about in a second. But also there was something called PlayStation Plus Collection, which I saw as like a direct response to Games Pass, because Sony doesn't have this. They sort of just give you a free game every month, and it's like if you're gonna get a big title, it's probably like around a year or two old.
I think it's more analogous to Nintendo's, but go ahead.
Yeah. So you PlayStation Plus Collection on the PS5 is essentially just it's not a streaming service. It is just a collection of games from PlayStation 4 that are forward compatible with PlayStation 5 that you can download on launch. We have no idea if it's an add-on to PlayStation Plus or if it's just like you get it. But it doesn't bridge the gap. It is not the same library. It's not the same, like it is not to the same tier. But like when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is a half-assed attempt of like coming at
It's a
Games
response.
Pass. Yeah,
It's reactionary. It's a response. That was not something. Sony is a lot of things, but what they are not is a company that wants to give more than they have to. In this era, and that's indicative with the way that the market runs, with the way that the online store works, right? The PlayStation Plus or PlayStation Now, whatever. No, it's Plus because Now is a different thing. Now is the streaming service for PS3 games. PlayStation Plus, dude. Like I think the best game that they gave, there was a couple of good games. They gave the Nathan Drake collection at some point, and they gave Bloodborne. That's really like it in terms of their AAAs. For something like the Xbox Game Pass, dude, like I that's what made me think of Elder Scrolls Online because it was on there, and I was like, oh shit, that's cool.
right. It's how we're getting like a lot of new players into Destiny.
Yeah, Destiny is going to be on there. Like literally, Destiny is going to be on Game Pass, the full thing, like everything that's there.
Minus the seasons.
Day one, 4K, 60 FPS. Bring your characters over, all that shit.
And then eventually at the end of the year, it's crossplay.
Right. On top of that, you've got your perennials that are never coming off Game Pass, which is Halo Master Chief Collection, Halo 5, Halo Wars are on there. All the Gears games, all their first-party stuff is day and date, day number 1, launched the title as retail and on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, you don't need it. I'm a huge Halo fan. I never bought the PC version of Master Chief Collection because whenever we decide to play it and we get into it, I just subscribe to Game Pass and it's there. You don't need it.
I mean,
you don't need it.
I bought it, but
it's fine. I just think it's cool that you don't have to.
Game Pass, the only thing it's missing, and it will not be complete until it is there, are every Halo novel in audiobook form.
That's the equivalent of like your 10-hour like YouTube videos.
Dude, I've been falling asleep listening to the Dune audiobook. Bro,
that's a cool one.
The Dune audiobook on Audible is amazing to listen to, even if you're not trying to fall asleep, because they're actually like acting.
Okay, all right.
And
I'm about to get into that, especially leading up to
it's 21 hours. 21 hours, dude.
It's 21 hours. joy.
Uh,
No, that's awesome though.
yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, to go to the question that I have, what do you think about a 299 Xbox being slightly lower powered, not the full pushing the full 4K 60 or 120 or whatever it is, pushing a little bit less, much more comparable to a PC in that way, where there's two distinct builds. What do you think about a 299, a $300 Xbox that's digital only, that's pushing a little bit less power, and then a $400 PlayStation that's the exact same thing as the $500? The only notable difference is it's just a disk drive. Do you get any hard drive space with it?
Uh,
Is the $500? Does you get more hard drive space?
I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna
Well,
young
pull it up
Jamie
and let's see.
this.
But what do you think about that? Like in principle, Microsoft was like, "Hey, we're gonna drop a little bit of the power down. We're gonna make this $300 at launch." Like that hasn't happened in a while. A next gen console at launch. How does that feel? How does that work compared to PlayStation being like, it's $400 or $500. It's the same shit. It's whether or not you want a disk drive or not. Maybe some more storage. What do you think about it?
So just in general, off the theory, like I kind of prefer a slimmed down Xbox. Like it's far more accessible. Like $399 is still like it's still big. It's still a huge purchase.
It is. It definitely is. My thought on it is, why are you charging us $100 to maintain physical? That feels weird. That feels like unnecessary. Like I feel like they could have really slayed it, and would have just been like, hey, there's a $500 for everything. Digital only is like $350. All I need is about $350. I think it would have done a little bit better, honestly, because I'm looking at the $400 one, where for the fighting community, for tournament organizers, whenever things get back to normal, I'm thinking like the way that they've done it is they generally purchase the games digitally on an account, and they log into that account, so they have everything available for all the setups. You're talking about 20 something setups per easily per game, and you got multiple games going on in a venue.
So I figure I've got the facts here.
Yeah.
It's just $100 for a disc drive, dude, which is crazy upmarked. Like
there's no storage change whatsoever. There's
none whatsoever.
Speed change.
They both have an 825 gigabyte SSD.
Okay, that's shitty. Sorry, that's whack. The
difference is that, and the digital one is slimmer by like a little bit and lighter, and it takes 10 watts less power.
That's just really weird, to be honest with you.
It seems, yeah.
That again, with Sony, like a lot of their stuff seems reactionary. I think the early leaks about Microsoft coming out with a slim console, maybe if I don't know. I'm not in
You're not a
production
doctor
industry, so I'm not a doctor, so I could be off. But it just seems really weird to me. I don't know. That's like,
yeah, this is well, here's the thing. We also have to like balance into this the fact that we've always gotten further editions of the PlayStations as you go into their lifespan. Yeah. There was a PS4 Slim and there was a PS4 Pro.
Of course.
I think so. I have always tended to buy the console generations at the beginning. I'm gonna lay back this time.
I would too.
Like, yeah. I think I'm gonna wait till like the halfway point of these consoles, because I can wait to play God of War. I can wait to play like realistically, what I'm going to wait to play Final Fantasy 16 because I'm gonna play it on PC.
Dude, if Final Fantasy even comes out at launch, like Square Enix,
it's not. It won't.
Square Enix has a tendency to be like, "Hey, this game's coming out," and like we were supposed to get Final Fantasy 7
versus 13. Remember that game that turned out to be 15?
Dude, like their timetable. That's why people are like, "I'm gonna play Final Fantasy and Dark Souls." It's like, you're gonna play Dark Souls because Final Fantasy's not coming out within that launch window.
Yeah,
I'll eat a shoe if Final Fantasy.
Did you watch that trailer?
I did. That was the first clip that I saw of it. I wasn't watching the. You could play it, absolutely.
Would you like to watch it again?
Yeah, I wasn't watching the. I didn't watch the entire conference because I was working on something, but I saw this come up in my newsfeed and I was like, hold up, a high fantasy Final Fantasy back again, give me this. Like, I'm a longtime fan of Final Fantasy IX. That's my favorite. It's always been my favorite. I did like the like era stuff of Final Fantasy 14.
So
and this combat, they're actually one thing I noticed too is someone that worked and did the combat for Devil May Cry is doing the combat for this. Because I was the first thing I thought of when I saw this, I was like, it's like Final Fantasy May Cry.
So the first frame is a campfire, and I was like, oh, this is fucking Dark Souls. And then a chocobo shows up, and I'm like, oh, this is not Dark Souls. Like,
it's not. The Square Enix logo didn't give it away.
Also, well, yeah, but it was like that's a really brutal death we just saw for a Final Fantasy game. This is
heavy.
Honestly,
heavy.
I'm about this so much, but here's my question for you: where do you draw the high fantasy line for Final Fantasy? Because like,
so
12 and 9 had airships, like 12 and 6 Magitech. This part of the trailer is like, oh, heavy Witcher vibes. Love it.
Dude, the color, just the color of that shot. Look at that shot, like it being like with grays and green hues, especially this Marlboro fight. This looks like there's a lot of shifts to it just in terms of its like nature. Final Fantasy has generally been a bright and kind of like colorful, getting while telling a deep story and stuff. The summons and stuff, like, or like what are they called in this?
Icons.
Looks,
which is the story, I think.
Awesome. Yeah, dude, I'm so into that. The more Final Fantasy can play like Devil May Cry, the more I will spend playing it. I did enjoy Final Fantasy 15's combat and stuff like that, but this thematically is so much more of my own. I'm super excited. I'm watching this blood splatter. Like this
it's very Game of Thrones, dude.
Very heavy shit. So I think for like that high fantasy, they're still gonna flirt the line, but it looks like they're introducing. They've always had a really cool like lore and like relationship with like these chickens that they're riding around on basically, and there's always crystals and stuff like that, so it's always like very basic.
This shot here, very Kojima to me.
Very Kojima with like the flare on the eyes and stuff like that, and like the big like characters reacting to what's going on and stuff.
And this is like Shin Godzilla, fucking Attack on Titan.
So are we gonna get to be that character, or are we gonna stomp around and just destroy shit? Is he just a character that we're looking after? Like
from what I gather, these elemental forces are the icons, right? So like Shiva is fighting against Titan, is fighting against Ifrit, but Phoenix has chosen this little kid who is being sheltered by his parents in the beginning of this trailer, and your character, or who I assume is the protagonist, because there's no one that just like has protagonist hair in this.
Yeah. There is like, no clear protagonist here. There's like.
Yeah. So the guy who I assume is the protagonist, and even this logo shows Phoenix fighting Ifrit. I believe that it's we're gonna see a fight over like who represents the element or whatever, or like an end to the crystals controlling whatever this world is within Final Fantasy 15.
I friggin' love it, dude.
I'm getting heavy Breath of the Wild vibes, not in any mechanical things, but in like this actually might be at the end of whatever Final Fantasy multiverse there is, like where they're just like the elements and the crystals have raged over time, and people are just like, we need to survive. It's time to be done with them.
There's no end. They'll just reset the world. Plot twist.
So Yoshi P from Final Fantasy 14 is leading this project. Huge fan of that guy. The dude brought Final Fantasy 14 back from the brink, reset it, Realm Reborn.
Truly did.
One of the things in my life that I'm happy that I was wrong about was Final Fantasy 14, because even when I tried it after Realm Reborn, I was like, oh, there's so much reading. But honestly, like, I've had so much fun with that game over time, and big fan. Yoshi P's a good dude, and the amount of stuff in that game is great.
Dude, I watched a 3-part documentary about Final Fantasy 14 and how they basically wiped it and brought it back. I thought it was just the coolest idea. Was to, they're like, hi, our game sucks. What do we do? Let's destroy the world as part of the lore and then relaunch it with another game. Like,
Right.
Okay, those are some things that only Square Enix can do, or other big big studios. So I'm super down for it. I think they needed that extra energy of announcing Final Fantasy 16 because that was a big want.
And this was the first thing we saw
And
on that day. This is the
yeah,
first thing you saw out of the Sony thing. But it also
yeah.
started with the, hey, by the way, also this is coming out on PC. So that's
Thank
where
you.
I'm gonna play it.
That's all. Literally like all I wanted. I was watching that thinking, and I'll buy a box whenever this comes out. Like I'm gonna be forced into it. So like we could do that, but loved that it was available on PC as well.
Yeah. So
They retracted that statement. I thought it was
they retracted
going to
that
be
for other games. They did not retract it for Final Fantasy 15.
okay.
Um,
It's gonna be. It probably won't be at launch. They probably want to have a console
we'll see.
launch with it.
But
I don't care.
also,
That's fine.
like, look at Final Fantasy 15. It took a year,
Yeah.
but they put a Steam edition out, and fucking you can play as a Noctis wearing the HEV suit from Half-Life. Yeah, sure, okay. Like there isn't a release date now for the PC edition. We'll see it. I don't think
Yeah.
like
Time will tell.
that. Like I will just call my shot right now, and we can fucking roll it back in a year or two when they
Love to
release
see
that
it.
shit. Because if Square can't keep Final Fantasy VII Remake on the PlayStation environment, there's no way they're keeping 16. That's not
Yeah.
7. Like,
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Yeah, so I'm with you too though. Like I had no interest in getting a PlayStation 5 at launch. I know that there's been lots of talk of production issues on it and stuff. I'm the kind of person where whenever I get a new console, I'm generally like bored anyway. There's that excitement of like it's a new console, but like the only console that's launched with a game that I really sunk myself into is the Switch with Zelda.
you're right.
Um, every other console kind of just like when the PS4 came out, I played Warframe and like some indie games, and I was like, cool, this is dope. And then just kind of waited for stuff to come out. So I'm personally just in that mindset of I'm gonna get them whenever there is a killer app, so to speak, to go with that older term
Right.
for gaming. I need something huge to kind of just sell me to make me pull that trigger on the button. And like you're saying too, like there's gonna be revisions on the hardware. There's gonna be changes. There's gonna be lots of different stuff, price drops. We'll see. When it comes to that. I'm honestly just more interested in the service side of things from what the consoles can bring,
Right.
which is kind of what highlights the Xbox as a kind of a new entry into what console gaming can bring.
So I've got two thoughts here. One about Final Fantasy. I think actually in seeing this, like I was just thinking through all the Final Fantasies I've played, which is nearly all of them, but not all of them completely.
Mm-hmm.
This might be the first high fantasy, like no sci-fi Final Fantasy that's ever existed. Because even 1 and 2 had time travel from fucking Gilgamesh. Like
9 didn't really have.
they had airships.
They had airships were operated. Airships were powered by the mist. The mist was
I
like
think
this like element that
airships
was on the
is
console.
where I draw the line.
No.
Like
No.
Like
the mist.
I'm talking about Lord of the Rings style. Like if you're gonna fly,
Yeah.
it's on an eagle. Like,
the mist.
this might be just the most. This might be the most fantasy Final Fantasy.
Yeah. I will agree. It looks like it, but it also looks like it's kind of like that. Like there's a lot of slick like jacket designs and stuff like that. The way that they kind of sheath their swords like on their back. And
Yeah, but
like
it's not
cool.
like Giorgio
pretty
Armani like all black everything, and it's not zippers and belts. So happy. Like
let's please come back to reference our podcast episode 13 for when there is a character that is just belts. Like was it Lulu?
Yeah, Lulu from Final Fantasy 10.
Just
when Lulu shows up in 16, you can
yeah. We're gonna do it.
So second thought here, just over the course of all that's been revealed, which game to you looks next gen? Because to me, I only can really point to one, and it wasn't 16, by the way.
That's hard because next gen, I think this console generation is going to be less about what texture fidelity and like light rays and god rays. I think it's going to be more about what the game can handle and what the game can offer you, and
Hmm.
what minimizations of things that we've had to stick out, like loading screens, like they had it for in there was a lot of games where you're doing a task, but they're hiding a loading screen in it. I think we're going to get away from games needing to be designed and paced around that stuff. So, but I mean, to answer the question, what looks visually the most next gen? For me, from what I've seen, honestly, I guess it would be Final Fantasy, just because the game's combat looks good. But I mean, even then, like
I'm not. I'm not.
it
I'm not
doesn't scream
talking.
next gen.
Right. I'm not talking like purely visuals. I'm talking about in the gameplay that you've seen. What is the game that says that is like this cannot be played on a PlayStation 4?
I honestly don't have any, realistically. I Nothing that I have seen from the announcements seems like something that wouldn't run on a version of the consoles that we have today. The only reason that I could see it not running is just the hardware not being able to push that many polygons, and then that wraps back around to the whole paradigm of it, where it's like, no, it's literally just pushing visuals. So nothing strikes me, nothing.
So to me, like, I think the new Spider-Man game, the
It's
bridge
literally
scene,
it's a PS4 game though. It's running the same engine.
but
It's
when you're
literally the
looking at
same engine.
here's my justification.
Okay.
Like the amount of things that character is doing in rain with all of like with the amount of just particles you're seeing plus enemies on screen that have what looks like really complex AI and the ability to seamlessly flow between all those things. It's either an incredibly well built system or that is where we are going to see like next gen happen. It's in what you can do as a player on the console as opposed to what the graphics look like. You can do more stuff and that stuff still looks good. And that's the only thing that I've seen that sort of struck me as like, oh shit, this is the next gen thing.
I think you kind of had it in there for me. What I'm going to pick at is that it's an incredibly well built system. I don't think anything in the new Spider-Man game is groundbreaking. I understand like people love the game. I think it's a cool game, but in terms of like, is this next gen? No, it is very much is current gen. It's just an upscaled, engine with it, and I think they're probably going to be able to get maybe some more characters, some more AI, so it's going to feel that way. But this leap in onboard storage is going to be something that's going to take developers a little while, maybe to kind of get the most out of. You know what I mean? So
What do you
that's
mean? Is
that's
it,
the way that I look at it. I think optimizing their game and building the game around not having loading screens and being able to jump from game to game, save
right.
states, all that stuff is going to be something that I think it's going to be built around. Because if you think about it, like in the old ways, I mean, go back to the old Final Fantasies on PlayStation with a memory card. The game was built that like whatever you do between save points could be lost, and you save, you end your game. That doesn't apply anymore. That world, that RPG setback, hold back, whatever you will from it, isn't really a thing anymore. You could do whatever now. You could literally not even just save. Like the game's just passively. When was the last time you had a game that you went and was like, I'm gonna save it to this file. This is my backup file. Probably for me when I played Kingdom Hearts, like the remakes. Games just save themselves now. So I think that in their design ethos and the way that you get into a game and that you load in and play it is we're gonna see games that either keep the action and just keep the adrenaline going nonstop, or we're going to see some other shift that we have, that I can't even think of because I'm not equipped to be a developer. I'm just a person that plays them. But it's going to be interesting for sure. I just personally I have not had that wow moment where I'm like, oh my god, next gen is here. Like I didn't, I just haven't had that yet. I haven't seen that, so I'd like to. I'd like to. Final Fantasy is the closest thing that's made me excited. I'll say for sure.
Yep. And I'm excited to play it on PC when it eventually comes there.
I know. So
Other
excited to play Final Fantasy
there
7
was
like on
actually
PC.
there was actually more announced today. that came out.
Really?
Not for PlayStation or for Microsoft, but for the Switch. Monster Hunter Rise.
Yeah.
It got announced. This is solely for me and not anything for Perk. Well, you played you played World a little bit on Game Pass, right?
There isn't a game out there. There's some games where I can play them. I'm like, okay, these these games aren't for me. I know they have their fan base and everything. There is no other game franchise that I can think of that I want to love more than Monster Hunter that I absolutely hate. I've never
Right.
felt that way about
Right.
games where I'm like, this has everything that I want. Let me love you. And I'm like, all these other things, I'm just like, why are you like this? That's
You're
me
just
with
not
Monster Hunter.
about slaying them dragons, dude.
I but that's I am. That's the
Listen,
problem that I
yeah,
have.
you
I'm
gotta
about that.
you gotta take that
That's
that
the
big
thing.
ass greatsword and man, you know what I'm not looking forward to is that
I
the
want
fucking
that.
Mila Jokovic, Paul W.S. Anderson Monster Hunter film is still coming out, but that's not
Is
here nor
that
there.
really? That's the thing.
Monster Hunter Rise is coming to the Switch in like a month. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna play the shit out of it, and if you guys are gonna play it too, let us know in chat or jump into our Discord because I need some friends to play with. Let's talk about Nvidia though. The 3000 series launched. Guys, it launched way too early. Both the PlayStation and the Nvidia 3000 series went live with pre-orders before they were stated to and sold out immediately. So people are
So
angry, people are mad.
yeah.
What do you think of this, man?
I from what I've understood, the Nvidia the Founders Editions didn't even actually go for sale. Like literally, were set at like 6:01 a.m. to just tick over from not available for pre-order to out of stock. So I don't know if they have them or if like there was some massive conspiracy of bots buying them or something like that. But I've seen a ton of kind of flack on the internet about that. I personally, I want to get a 3080. I have a 1080 Ti right now. Um, I wanted to get a 3080, but I wasn't going to buy them right now. I was going to wait and see what third-party options were, how they iterate them on them and stuff like that. There's always some interesting tech that kind of gets like added, for cooling and different stuff like that. So I just am here with the popcorn, like kind of watching and see what
Right.
goes on. Um, but that seemed whack. The PlayStation going for sale, they're like, oh, it will be available for pre-order starting tomorrow, and it's just like available like on some stores
You
like
know what else
instantly
did
and
that?
shit like that. I'm like,
You
what are you
know
doing? What else did that?
the Dreamcast. Remember they
Did
announced
it?
the Dreamcast, and by the way, it's live now. And
Oh
no
my
one bought it because
god.
they're like, it's also crazy expensive.
I
Um,
remember being on lunch break from work and having to like reroute my car from going back to work from getting lunch to being like, I have to pre-order the Super Nintendo Mini because I heard that they went live. Like I saw a text and I was like, let's go. Like, because I knew I wasn't gonna get one like online. It wasn't that serious, but I definitely made a K turn to go around to go to a GameStop and then wait in line to then have to buy a bundle that I was forced into because GameStop does that shit where they're like, we ran out of the regular ones, but we still have the one where you can pay us another $100 for peripherals that you're not going to use.
right.
But it's very reminiscent of that, of the demand for it. But the interesting thing is the demand for it. A lot of people were looking for that PlayStation. A lot of people were looking for those 3000 series cards.
That's what
Did you
like
get one? Did anybody from the clan get one? I know Peter was looking to try to grab one. I
I
don't know who else was
I don't
doing it at
know.
launch.
To be honest, I don't think I know anyone. Well, I know people who were looking for it, but I'm sitting this out. Like for like the
Yeah,
Nvidia
it's
3000
a mess.
series, like I have a 2080 Ti. Like I just kind of upgraded to it. I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
gonna wait for the 4000s. Like I'll see you in the next wave.
Yeah.
And like I said for PlayStation 5 and the Xbox, if I'm gonna get a console, I'm gonna do the $35 subscription thing for Xbox, or like just wait until halfway through the
I
cycle.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. I mean, honestly, I picked up the 1080 Ti. Mine came bundled with Destiny 2 when we switched over. I was like, oh, cool. You know what? I've been wanting a reason to upgrade. It got me a copy. So that ended up
Was that
being
your alt?
that was Barry Freezepop's copy.
Shout out to Barry
She
Free
so
Spot.
she shout out to Barry Freezepop. So she had that one, and I had already pre-ordered like the Super Steam edition or whatever. Or no, it was before Steam, the Battle.net one. But anyway, getting away from it, I have a 1080 Ti. I have a 2K monitor running at 1440p. It's at 144 hertz. It runs great when I stream from it, when I play Destiny, all kinds of stuff. So I'm not in any rush. It's new hardware, and it's, I at least wanted to skip the 20 series because there was no reason for me to do that. But kind of whack that they did that. But the only little caveat that I saw is that NVIDIA was apparently going after people who are potentially bots to try to basically cancel their orders,
That's
and
good.
then free up some. Yeah, so good job
Yeah.
NVIDIA for that. If that's really
Let's
what's
get
going
those
on,
let's
I
get
don't
those
know.
cards out of the hands of the Bitcoin miners and into the people who
Yeah,
might
or even
mine
just
Bitcoin.
even just resellers. Like, no one should need to pay $1,200 for a $700 GPU. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's
These aren't
such a
Jordans.
markup.
Like,
Even doing it for that, dude, I don't. That whole reselling market
yeah.
blows my mind. Like, if you don't want it, just let somebody else buy it. But anyway, that's me thinking too highly of people.
I think we've gone through the general gaming news of this show because it's been a late week on Destiny. So Moose, perk your ears up. We're moving back.
Yes.
To the Cosmodrome, and by Cosmodrome I mean the TWAB.
The patch notes.
Yeah. So guys, this week at Bungie,
what do we got?
We got a customizable ghost thing. So I'll read this to you. You can react. Here we go. Customizable ghosts. A Guardian's ghost is their most trusted ally and is tasked with keeping them in the fight. Your ghost isn't just in charge of bringing you back from the brink, it also comes with some perks and a wide range of cool looks to choose from. We have some changes planned for your floaty friends and asked designer Mina Jasinski to tell us about what her team is doing to improve how you customize your ghost. From Mina, ghosts have always been important partners to our Guardians in the Destiny universe, but they haven't received any meaningful updates in quite some time. Reader's note, if you'll remember, back in D1, they actually affected your gear score. They no longer do that. Thank fuck. Anyway, to allow ghosts to truly shine as the useful and interesting companions we want them to be, we decided it was time to give them a bit of an overhaul. On Destiny 2 Beyond Light, ghosts will have received a system update which shares some functionality to what was done with some armor in Shadowkeep. Here's a brief outline of what to expect. Ghost shells will now have energy levels and access to mods with various energy costs instead of being preloaded with specific perks. This treatment has been applied to all ghosts outside of the generalist shell, so you can use your favorite ghost shells regardless of tier. All selection of mods will be available on all ghost shelves by default, while the remaining ones will be obtainable by various gameplay sources. Information on where to find these mods can be learned from collections. Ghost mods will be obtained from gameplay reward loops and will not be purchasable from Eververse. Ghosts now have 4 mod slots, 3 are unlocked by default, and the 4th is unlocked by masterworking in the Ghost Shell. One of our goals with this update was to separate visuals from functionality. Thank you. We wanted any Ghost Shell to be viable and still have access to highly useful mods, regardless of tier or source. You'll be able to collect your favorite Ghost Shell based on appearance without any detriment to your experience. Whether you purchase a Ghost Shell from Eververse, earn it from the newest raid, or pull an old... remember... Raid Ghost is promised here. Pull an old favorite out of collections. Your ghost will have access to all the same mods across your account. From there, you can increase your energy levels on your favorite ghost shells and set them up. So each of them up with different mod combinations of your choosing. Just checking in here. How are we going to upgrade them? Are we going to have to spend cores? Those are crucial currencies. If it's the ascended cores, even that's kind of worse. As mentioned above, ghosts will now have access to a total of 4 mod slots, each with their own unique mod selection. There will be an experience mod slot, a tracking mod slot, an economic mod slot, and an activity mod slot, the last of which is unlocked when the ghost is masterworked at 10 energy. You'll be able to mix and match mods from these categories however you like with respect to energy limits. Mod slots each have a selection of mods that can be combined to fit your playstyle. For example, a Crucible-focused player who wants to grind out materials and earn XP towards their seasonal reward track might choose Guiding Light, Meager Glimmer Booster, and Lesser Core Harvest for Crucible. There are a variety of combinations that can be set up on different ghosts to suit whatever goals you might be chasing at the time. For those wondering what will happen to the old ghost perks, most have been brought forward largely unchanged as the default unlocked mods. In some cases, such as the destination-specific material or cache trackers, those mods have been transformed into globally effective, non-destination-specific versions of themselves for better utility. Energy costs for those mods now reflect the increased flexibility, and the mods must be earned from various vendor engrams. Kill Tracker and Leviathan boss kill perks will remain intrinsic only on their specific ghost shells. Even with these changes, you'll still be able to build the most of the popular exotic perk combinations that were available previously, such as Guiding Light and Treasure Hunter, along with a plethora of new combinations.
I thought that said chiropractic shell. I'm not gonna lie. When that first showed up on screen, I read it really quick, and I was like, "What the hell's the chiropractic shell?" Um, that's cool. Good. Finally, um, that's a good step in the right direction. I think the mod system. I think they're onto something. I'd like to see it a little bit more flexible. It overall it feels rigid,
mhm.
but good. Like that's what we wanted. We wanted a way to use whatever shell we want. Um, Honestly, I think the better way to do it was, but I mean, I guess they're giving you more to chase. They should have just made the shell, the shell of the ghost itself, just a little tennis ball, your base ghost, and then, or just like the plain shell from D1, and then just get new shells as ornaments. But I mean, whatever. However they wanted to do it is fine. It's better. Uh, you know, it's better than what it was. So I'm totally okay with it. I'm good to go for that. Um, Thumbs up is really all I can say about it. There's not
You're Roger Eberting over here. Thumbs up.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's good. It doesn't suck anymore. That's the thing
Um,
with some stuff in Destiny. I don't like to be part of the group that over celebrates when things just stop sucking. You know what I mean? When they innovate and bring something else, that's kind of where I'm like, yes, good, good. But when things cease to suck, I'm like, good, okay, thank you. That's good.
Some other notes. Honoring a friend. Next week, we have a tribute going live in game to honor one of our dear friends at Vicarious Visions who passed away last year, Matt Helsam.
Oh,
The weekly reset will include a director message that will send you to Mars for a short quest to honor Mr. Helsam. He worked closely
cool.
with the teams at both Bungie and VV on various projects during our partnership, and we wanted to memorialize his contributions in the Destiny universe. We wish all of his friends, family, and everyone he impacted during his life the very best. Thank you to everyone in the community who joins us in remembering this warm soul. So, guys,
That's cool.
Vicarious
That's cool.
Visions was one of the Activision satellite studios that helped
Yeah,
Bungie get Warmind
big
and
time.
Curse of Osiris out. They were
Big
pretty
time.
much 100% behind Warmind. They brought
Yeah.
a lot to the game. So, rest in peace, Mr. Matt Helsam.
Yeah,
I'm
good
hoping,
company. They've
yeah.
done a lot of games and stuff too. Just even
Honestly,
reach outside of Destiny.
they're an upstate New York
Are they really?
company too.
Oh
It's
wow.
kind of an oddity to see games outside
East
being made
Coast.
outside on like here on the East Coast. I think Rockstar has a New York
Rockstar.
office, but outside of that, King and Activision have an office that I used to work out of that no one makes games in.
Yeah.
So, sad loss here, but he will be remembered.
That's cool that they're doing that. I like stuff like I like seeing stuff like that.
So then finally, we're going to wrap up with some patch notes. Tuesday, September 22nd is
All
the
right.
day that Game Pass gets Destiny 2. You will not
Oh,
get
nice.
Forsaken
Earlier.
or Shadowkeep until 10 a.m. PDT, which is when the hotfix goes live 2 hours after they drop the actual game.
Cool.
So everything
Cool.
up to Shadowkeep will be live that day. So there's
Yeah.
also when they will bring down the game. To reference this, guys, just go ahead and check out the TWAB at Bungie.net. And they also have a list of known issues, which is apparently Hawthorne cannot give you your weekly
Yeah.
bounties anymore
I
because we have got
heard about that
we've reached the point in the season where
one.
next week
Should have
would have
been.
been Beyond Light.
Yep.
Uh,
It should
so
have been in that.
now we're at the waiting game point. We're trying to figure out how these extensions have happened.
Yeah.
Obviously, the story has been extended a lot, and now we're seeing this bug, which is that Hawthorne no longer has a weekly challenge for you to do. And they found that they could fix this. However, in doing so, every clan would lose their earned ranks, which means us Caffeinds would lose all of our ranks. You guys who are not part of our clan would lose your ranks.
We hit that
I don't think that's a good. Like I would rather keep the ranks. Thank you.
Yeah, especially because it actually gives you more loot and like better chances at getting stuff for more members and things like that.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, but Moose, we're with you. Give us Beyond Light. Honestly,
Mhm.
that's that's a big thing for us. So with the patch notes, I'm gonna bring us in because I'm really excited about this. One of the last things that we're going to talk about today is raid challenges. I know for a lot of you, you've seen us on streams playing some different games and stuff, some non Destiny types of stuff. Just kind of giving ourselves a break because we are going to go into Beyond Light really, really fucking hard. So in taking a break for that, probably around mid-October, you're going to see us stream some raid challenges. There's always a meta that evolves around with up with Destiny of the go-to loadouts and different things like that that can just absolutely just shred raid bosses. But what we're going to do in preparation for shooting for our 24-hour new raid completion once Beyond Light drops, we're going to start to do some weird shit. We're going to go into raids with like blue weapons,
Oh
and
god.
we're going to do loadouts where things like only one copy of an exotic can be in the whole fire team. Like if we're going to have a Whisper of the Worm, one person's going to be our Whisper user. One person's going to have that Xenophage, and it'll probably be me and not Patrick. But different
Amen.
different things like that we're going to be trying to do. So definitely keep an eye out for that. That's going to be so fun because, and the reason that we're doing that, the logic is that we're feeling ourselves. We have a lot of raid completions, and we've taken a lot of people through raids. And multi raid, Sherpas and stuff like that. So one of the hardest things that you could do is jump into a brand new raid, because normally you're underpowered a little bit that first week. You're in a brand new raid experience, so we can't give ourselves a brand new raid experience, but we can simulate being underpowered, which is why we're going to try to do some raid challenges and different things like that, just to make it difficult for ourselves and to make us miserable.
Not gonna lie, when you said we're gonna do some weird shit, I thought you were quoting Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when he gets the power to make shit.
I'm gonna make some weird shit. That's a great line.
I think along these lines, guys, if you are looking for people to play with, join our Discord. Even if you've got a clan of your own and you want to join in on this wackiness, you guys want to just hang out with the crew, we stream literally almost every day. Literally almost every day.
Literally, definitely.
Come on down to the Discord, as Flabeetle says. He's truly ready for you. You use !Discord in the chat to join us. We're gonna be really hoping to just play with more people. Play with you guys. Whether or not you join us is up to you. We would love to have you, but we just want to get this stuff happening with you, the viewers. So come on down to the Discord, hang out with us. We'll be playing Destiny. We'll have Moose grinding PvP all day, every day. The way that she makes her Minecraft villagers grind for her.
Astute observation.
Yeah. Other than that, some brief announcements. Normally we do clan affairs here, and we have a member of the week. We're gonna table that until Beyond Light comes out. We're Moose with a just astonished face. So we're gonna be pushing to increase our numbers as Caffeinds, and when we get to a suitable place with that. As Beyond Light drops, as we do these raid challenges, we'll be featuring more of you guys, less of our core streaming group. We want to bring your stories to light and highlight you guys because we love you. That said, coming up on the stream, we have some. Well, I think I'm next, as always, when I'm here. It's like, oh, me, next, Saturday. Not sure. It's your boy, WillProduces. I don't know what I'm going to be doing this Saturday. We'll see if it's Guild Wars or if it's Destiny. Then
let me fill everybody in on the Saturday stream real quick. I don't want to. You're not going to get off that easy. Like that's not how we're doing this. So here's what's going to go on Saturday. Ready? Will's going to start the stream about an hour past where he drinks it, starting, which is 10 a.m. So it's going to probably start at 11.
I always start at most 5 minutes past 10.
That high low.
You are never there to watch it.
Well, that's the thing. Hold on, I'm gonna get that. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna start it up at 11. You're gonna see who's on. Patrick's gonna join you. Moose is gonna be roll out of bed straight into trials because some the gun or the helmet or something like that's gonna be available. You're gonna go into that. You're gonna get mad because less people are in the trials queue because we're in the later part of the season. You're gonna go into Guild Wars. You're gonna start do a bunch of stuff. I'm gonna hop online around like 12:30. I'm gonna be like, let's do some trials. And then we're gonna have to recalibrate, do something. Something's inevitably gonna happen. You're gonna have to restart the stream once. And then we're gonna play like 2 cards of trials, kind of get a little bit frustrated, and then just have to go leave and do something else.
In my defense, I wasn't the only one frustrated. That map was ass this week.
That map was trash. That map was trash. I like Exodus Blue, but I hated it for trials that week.
Yes, Alex is correct. I'm going to show you the delicious bread that I've made, and there will be audio issues as tradition. I think, like, if anything, I've learned from my mistakes, and I'll just start with Guild Wars, and then get
yourself for an hour.
Yeah. That
solid strat as well.
Look, you joke, but that happened last Saturday.
Moose, there is no thunderstorms today. There's normally a storm every single time, and like
you know what that means. Click stop streaming. So
wrap it up.
So yeah, enough talk about me. Sunday fun day. Not sure what Peter and Jared have lined up this week.
I do.
All right, enlighten us.
So, Caring Pig, aka Ixlock's wife, is going to be joining for some Fall Guys to kick it off, and then we're bringing the boys back for the duo. They're going to go into Warzone. Peter's going to throw up. Jared's going to find some turtles. There's going to be a lot of salt. That's what I heard. I'm honestly ready for Jared to be yelling at Peter to be like, "Why weren't you here?" And Peter's going to be like, "You guys move so fast, I can't keep up." So yeah. That's me shot calling what's going to go down for Sunday fun day. I'm a precog now. I'm not even a podcaster anymore. I'm just
a precog.
I'm a precog.
Welcome to the department of pre-streams.
Yeah, we're pre-streaming it.
I heard Steve will make an appearance. Let's hope. So then that brings us to Monday, Lucas Comp. Tuesday, Perk Reset. Wednesday, Moose doing crazy shit. And then we're back here next Thursday for episode 14 of the Caffeinds cast.
Next Thursday, we may have a secret guest that we're going to tweet about a bunch once I confirm it. But we may.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leak it now. It's Perk's other hat. Perk's other hat is the guest.
All right, I'll get another hat for next week. We can do that.
All right. Moose is starting her full hardcore Destiny playthrough where she has to where she has to not die. That is it. We're going to host someone. Thank you for watching episode 13 of the Caffeinds cast. We are entering month 4 of having a podcast for the clan. Check us out on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube. Go to our Discord, be a part of the conversation, and I'll show you pictures of the food that I make, and so will Alex, and then Perk will just rage occasionally. That is it for us. We're going to throw it over to Iceman.
Iceman. He is...
He's playing Among Us.
Playing Among Us.
Which we're about to play.
Go give him some love. Iceman is one of our good friends. He's an excellent creator. He's normally a Destiny streamer. He normally plays some Tarkov, PvP-centric stuff. So go tell him the Caffeine sent you. Say hello. And we will see you guys on our next stream and on the podcast next week.
Caffeine's clan is for the children. Start the raid in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wu-Tang.